What's the last thing someone said to you before they died?
A man who helped raise me died about 2 days after I saw him last. Our final interaction was him telling the most embarrassing story about me to my new girlfriend. Thanks, Steve.
My grandpa, on the phone. I wish we could have met. He lived in New Zealand, I live in Australia. I had met him, many times. Tore me up inside that it had been so long since I'd visited him that he'd forgotten me.
I'm fine, don't worry about me. My grandfather had been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer and refused all treatment. In his words, I'm 86 years old. What the hell is the point? The last time I saw him he looked bad and was clearly in a lot of pain. But he kept insisting that he didn't want anyone making a big fuss over him. He died 3 days later.
The day before my grandfather slipped into his last sleep, my car broke down. He heard about it and gave me a lot of money when I visited him. The last thing he said to me, I wanted to see you smile for one last time.
See you tomorrow. My father on the phone. I found him dead in his house the next day. Fell, cracked his head open. Edit, it's amazing to see how people are opening up with their own stories and sharing advices and virtual hugs. Thank you, Redditors, for turning my comment into a place of comfort.
I'm sorry we didn't talk as much as you wanted. My grandpa's last words.
99-year-old grandfather after recurring mini heart attacks over a couple of weeks, tell wife, I said hello, I will see you later, with his slight grin and a wink. He knew, I knew, we all knew. Great guy, and always had a great attitude under any circumstance he faced.
The last conversation I remember having with my grandpa before he died, he asked me if I was still playing guitar, and I said I was.
The last words I had with my late husband before he went in for surgery, me, love you, him, love you more.
My father was mostly non-verbal and not lucid while declining from cancer. I was sitting bedside when he suddenly woke up and started getting out of bed. Where are you going, Dad? I asked. He looked at me, his eyes twinkling above a huge smile, and said, I'm going to get some ice cream, boy. Edit. There was no way he could support himself at that point, so I got him back in bed, then ran to get ice cream. He was lapsing back when I returned, but he did have some ice cream. I'm pretty sure those were his last words to the world. Edit 2. Many thanks for the responses and awards. It is cathartic to share this memory with you. I like to think my father would have appreciated the humor of the moment as well. This entire thread has been a roller coaster of emotion. The mix of slow fades and unexpected departures remind us that no one knows when the end will arrive, but that someone will remember our last words to them.
My dad said I'm gonna pass out. I'm passing out, then died in my arms. Edit, wow, thanks for all the comments and the hugs and things. Nice surprise waking up to 100 comments. My dad had a heart attack in our apartment and we were trying to get to a hospital when he collapsed in the parking lot.
I want to live. I don't want to be fed and watered and turned to the sun like some kind of plant. Since this blew up, he did die. He was going in for brain surgery and the outcome was questionable. Him saying that made it a lot more possible for me to consent to withdrawing life support when it became necessary.
On a coaching course for a week. How are you guys? Last WhatsApp message from my brother. I never responded because I was too busy.
My grandma told me she loved me and how I saved her life by buying her that cordless phone, 90s, because she was just laying on the bathroom floor, but she carried it with her like I told her and was able to call for help. She had crocheted a bag for it. She was in the end stages of cancer and I was driving up 4 hours every weekend to stay with her. I'd bought the phone a few weekends before and told her to take it with her. She'd never had a cordless phone, so it was a big deal for her. She religiously kept it charged and on her when she got up. She told me she'd see me that weekend. She died that night.
Tucked in my GF, kissed her goodnight, told her I loved her. AMD would see her in the morning. She kissed me back, said love you babe, and she passed that night. I found her in the AM when I went to kiss her goodbye before I left for work. ETA, I am totally floored by the traction this seems to have gotten. First, thank you so much for the love, condolences, and stories that you all have shared with me. I am both in awe and honored. Second, I am getting through one foot in front of the other. Some days are better than others. Thirdly, she died from complications from a number of things she had going on. Type 1 diabetes, arthritis, fibro, congestive heart failure, and reduced kidney function. And it didn't help, she spent half of Dec, pretty much all of Jan, and nearly half of February in the hospital from complications stemming from breaking her ankle, pneumonia, and an infection in her hardware for the broken ankle. So this wasn't totally out of the blue. But it still sucks. I've learned it never gets better, you just get used to the idea that they're gone. To some of the younger Redditors, don't be afraid to love, deeply, honestly, openly, it's worth the pain that sometimes comes. When we go, the only things we leave behind are the stories people tell and the memories we've made. So, enough of me being maudlin, I'm gonna have another beer or two and go to bed.
Oh, it's fine, just a bump to the head. I'll take a painkiller and have a nap. Love you. My mom died of a brain hemorrhage 5 hours later. Edit. Thank you for the kindness and awards. I'm really touched.
A family friend said, hot day isn't it? He died few hours after due to heat stroke.
My grandma calling me by my Indian name and telling me she loves me. She died a week later from ALS.
Grandmother said, take good care of Missy. Missy was her beloved cat.
Don't stop writing. My dad, brother and I were heavily into mountain biking. My dad found a group through his work that rode their bicycles in a group on the weekend. I was a teenager at the time, but I became friends with an older lady named Joyce. On a road ride one morning, all the slower people, me, my dad, Joyce and a few others, were drafting off each other. When it was my turn, I accidentally clipped Joyce's handlebar and she went down hard. Now it was a nasty fall, but it wasn't bad enough to cause anything serious. Her protective gear should have saved her, but she was down. She was in a lot of pain and couldn't move without crying. We ended up having to call an ambulance. 14-year-old me was distraught that I hurt her so bad. A week or two later we get a call. Joyce had advanced stage cancer and the unexplained extreme pain from the fall was related to it, and that was how the doctors discovered it. I'll cut this short, the meds didn't work, and she was told she had less than 6 months. When it was our turn to visit her, she let me know that she doesn't blame me for what happened, and that I shouldn't let this stop me from writing. Don't stop writing.
I won't leave you. I never will. I love you.
My mother was at the end stage of leukemia. I called her to see how she was doing. She was pumped full of morphine and close to the end. She told me she loved me and we hung up the phone. My dad called not too long after and said she was near the end and I needed to get on a flight immediately. I caught the next flight out to see her before she passed away. My uncle picked me up from the airport and informed me she had died while I was on the plane.
Be a good chap. My grandfather ETA. For those asking, I do try to be good. To be kind and respectful to others, to give what I can when I can, to stop and help when it's needed. I'm by no means perfect, no one is, but striving to be better for others is the best any of us can do, and what he was like right up till the end. He was so loved by the community, the church at his funeral had people standing in the wings, and it had a capacity of 1,000. He actually was forced to retire as a GP by grandma at like 75, but still snuck out to see patients. He had a practice behind the house with a few doctors.
Hey man. Happy New Year. We still don't know what it is for sure. Probably leukemia or lymphoma. I will probably be here for another month or so, but can't say for sure. Take care of your health. This is the most pain and then the most beep up I've ever been in my life. Be well, good friend. I look forward to smoking a joint with you and telling the tale of how I conquered cancer. A text message I received right before he went into a coma that he would never come out of. Thank you everyone for the awards and upvotes.
My aunt's last words that I heard from her were, "You've grown so much," as I was a little kid, about 5, and she hadn't seen me for a while. The sheer innocence and love in that phrase is what I associate with my aunt now, and she was amazing.
Bye, beautiful, drive safe. I said, always. He took his own life the next day. We'd been together for 22 years.
Come here, my granddad wanting to tell me something before I went to work. I said, "I'll see you when I finish." He died while I was at work. Kills me inside knowing he wanted to tell me something before he died. Edit spelling and thank you so much of the upvotes. Didn't think it would blow up like that, haha.
My friend in college died by suicide. He sent me a message on FB Messenger saying, "I need a hug." But FB Messenger glitched, didn't send me the notification, and I didn't see the message until after it happened. Painful to remember.
My mom fell into a coma about a week before she died from lung cancer. Don't smoke. but the last time I saw her conscious, she called me by my childhood nickname and said she loved me and was proud of me. In terms of a parent's last words, it was the best thing she could have said. I still tear up when I think of it, 10 years later. The last thing my dad said to me was, "My sister is taking me to the hospital, I'm not feeling well. Tell your daughter I said I love her too and I will see you guys soon." He went into surgery and never woke up. Died 4 days later.
Hey, want to finish the Diablo 2 run when I get back? One of my buddies. We were in Iraq. And #X200B. *edit***. I didn't think this would even really see the light of day. It was more of a, well, might be a good thing to rip the scab off. It helped, even replying where I did.
About 6 months ago I was with my mum on the phone to my grandma who was dying from COVID pneumonia. Mum said to her, "I love you." She replied, "I love you too." Her words were barely audible over the phone with her breath so labored. Grandma, who I was very close to, didn't know I was also on that call to her. I couldn't bring myself to tell her I also loved her because I knew I would have broken down and burst into tears as soon as I opened my mouth to speak. I wanted to tell her so much. I was desperate to, but just couldn't. She died an hour or so later. "I love you too" were the last words I heard her say, but I still feel a horrible sadness and regret that I didn't tell her I loved her while I had an opportunity in her final moments. She was such a lovely part of my life and I'll never stop missing her.
The one that always will stick with me was when I was working on the ambulance, got called to a home during a blizzard for a 35-year-old male seizing and foaming at the mouth. Me and my partner and a trainee I had with me go and respond, and while en route get an update that patient was now conscious and admitted to ingesting poison intentionally. Poison control and medical control call us to advise he admitted to using strychnine, a potent nerve toxin used in the old days for rodent control on farms or industrial sites primarily. We get up to the house and I start talking to him, get info established, give him activated charcoal per med control, and he is completely honest with me. He tells me he took it cause he had been fighting depression and anxiety for years and work finally put him over the edge. While his girlfriend was in the shower he mixed it into his drink and chugged it and took some sleeping aids hoping he would pass in his sleep and be less traumatic for his girlfriend. He went to bed like nothing was wrong and his girlfriend came out to find him seizing on the bedroom floor. He grabbed me by the shirt and he said, "I'm so sorry. I'm sorry I did this to you." He seized again while holding my shirt and began to vomit and aspirate. He went pulseless shortly after and me and the trainee did CPR for 16 minutes, unable to travel in the storm. That is one of many calls that will stay with me forever.
My grandpa told me I was his favorite grandchild before passing. That caused quite a stir of jealousy afterwards amongst his children and grandchildren. Pretty much ruined the memory, fortunately not the feeling though.
My uncle was hit in the head with brass knuckles and his last words to me were, "I wasn't hit, it was just a door." 12-year-old me said, "That wasn't a door, you were hit," and he said, "Then why'd you ask?" We were both laughing about it and he said he was okay. He wasn't. That and my aunt I was making something for when I was 11. I kept telling her to stay for 5 more minutes while I finished. She said, "I'll be back early tomorrow." She passed away that night.
Oh beep, not again. Seriously, a patient during med school said this. "I'll never forget. It was probably them just pissed they were having a third heart attack, but I always wondered if they were some immortal being that had died before and managed to come back somehow."
Thank you for taking such good care of me. You did a wonderful job. My mother, after a stupid accident, caused her to die a little prematurely while she was terminally ill with pancreatic cancer. I was her primary caregiver for the last 7 months of her life. We knew she wouldn't wake up in the morning. It'll be 5 years on June 3rd. Still hard to think about.
"You don't have to visit me every day. I'll leave hospital in 2 days anyway," my father said. I replied I'd still visit next day as I love him. In the end we both were right, sadly. He died 25 hours after that talk. So I visited his dead body next day, and he was transported out of hospital 2 days after we talked. I think this exchange will stick forever in my mind.
By my name. It was my big brother. He was in late-stage terminal cancer. He passed at home the following morning.
The last words I heard from 3 of my grandparents were the exact same. "Goodbye, come back soon."
My mom said she loved me over the phone 2 days before she died in her sleep at 82.
You can have my soup if you want it, I can't eat anymore, I love you.
On a voicemail. I need to talk to you.
My Nana. I love you. Man, I miss her sometimes.
May your day be filled with joy and happiness. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe for more quality content every day.